You're gone, Federal Reservists. We don't need you. We can print our own damn money. The wealth of a nation doesn't depend on its ability to print money, but by the willingness of its workforce. Do you understand me, idiots, liars, cheaters, Satanists, thieves? You make me want to vomit, okay? You're going to hell on a rocket if you don't repent, okay? If you don't morph into a cultivar, you're going to get pulled up as a weed and thrown into the fire, the fiery furnace. Okay, that's it. So just remember that. All evildoers that support the status quo and, oh, we're just going to tweak it here or there, that's not what Trump's doing. This is going to have to be something permanent, etched in stone. We got to have a new trajectory of prosperity across the board for everybody, okay? That's the only way I could enjoy the level of prosperity I have, and the vast majority of people would laugh, literally laugh, if they saw my personal finances. But it's all relative. I'm not the guy that's going to die out in the cold tonight. But I care as much about him as I do myself, because in the eyes of God, he might be a far more righteous man than me and deserves to be the guy that's spoiled, okay, that's going to stay warm and dry tonight. Do you understand? I am having a very hard time living with myself and not being exactly the person I need to be. So that's what I'm doing. I'm being who I need to be. I recommend that to everybody. Be true to yourself. Be true to your conscience. Be true to what God says is you, your essence, your soul, and your spirit, your heart, your intellect, your logic, your reason, your integrity, all the stuff that you value about yourself that you wouldn't sell for anything. You can be that person. But understand that it's okay to have liberal beliefs if you could do the math and prove that it's conservative. It's fiscally prudent. Fiscal has to do with taxes. So fiscal has to do with the cost of living too, since the cost of living is a tax. There is really no significant difference. None. It's burden. Burden is burden. Like Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Burden, okay, by any other name would stink as bad. Burden is burden. Okay, you get it? And so we've all got to get it collectively here, get it together. Good socialists, good capitalists, come together, and you'll be unstoppable. We will turn the tide. We will get on a new trajectory of prosperity for all, across the board, universal, and the system won't break down. All these innovations that are patented because it's disruptive technology. It disrupts the profits of the oil companies, for example. All that stuff is released. It's all out there. No more building stuff to break. Planned obsolescence, the consumerist mentality. That's not capitalism. That's consumerist. It's BS. It's just invented. It's burden. They're just putting burden. They're saying, oh, no, you got to have this new technology. This is advancement. This is progress. I know the guys of progress that do all this crap. You know, everybody's heard that case of swatting where you call the cops and you say, this terrible thing just happened at this location, this address. And so, the SWAT squad comes and invades the house. So this guy was killed because some guy lost some stupid online game. How evil. I mean, that is disgusting. That is so freaking evil. And the cops need to be cognizant of this, and they need to send out, the first guy they ought to send out is just somebody to say, hey, sacrificial lamb type guy, is this a real deal or is this false? Because this can never be allowed to happen again. It's just like capital punishment when they execute an innocent man and later find out we were wrong and the DNA proved we were wrong and we did it. That's not on my head because I don't believe in it. But it's that same sort of thing. If they go out to a phony call, okay, and somebody dies like happened here, then all SWAT calls should be off. We shouldn't allow any of them. But they need like a sacrificial lamb to go out and investigate, make sure that it's a true call first. That they can verify, that it's a legitimate call before, they send the SWAT squad in. Something. They got to do something, but this is totally unacceptable. I couldn't imagine being swatted. It's happened to a lot of famous people, too. It's messed up stuff. Last week I was commenting about what I thought was cucking. They're doing it through sitcoms or any number of ways. It's to degrade, to debase men and their worth. This is what I'm talking about. Now, by no means am I saying that women should be debased and demeaned. Okay, in my mind, I exalt women. That's why I say, woman is not a man's better half. She's a man's better two-thirds. Men would do themselves a great service, individually and collectively, if they would listen to women more. And look there's far less homicides committed by women, right? They're less prone to violence, even though we know who's really running the show. In all honesty, it's the mother bear with her cubs that is most formidable. Not the dad. You don't have to worry about. He might run away with you clang the pans in Yosemite to get him out of your campsite, right? But the mother bear, you better watch out. You get too close to her cubs that she doesn't turn and race toward you and maul your butt. Okay, it's the mother. It's the female of the species that is to be feared most. We all know that. That's just the natural law. So it's no different in the human realm. That's what I'm saying. That really appearances are deceptive. You can't judge a book by its cover. It looks like men are running the world, but really behind the scenes, it's women in the background so often. And too often men do act like they own themselves. These cops, they think they own themselves out there, right? And so they act in this bad, unbecoming way. I mean, I just watched the first episode of Forensic Files where I could not find a money motive. And of all things, it had to do with the San Diego, California Highway Patrol. It was one of my favorite law enforcement agency out there, okay, is the guys that are seeing to highway safety, that, keeping the drunk drivers. I mean, they're saving lives and limbs, okay? But again, I believe in a divider, constant divider. So no chance for head-on wrecks anymore. So that would, there's a lot of things we could do. And forget the money. Don't believe these people that say money. Oh, well, where are we going to get the tax dollars? Don't believe that crap. No. You say, no, we got a willing workforce, so shut your beak, okay? We'll figure it out. All these people they need their needs met, okay? And that's cheap. It's being done. We have an excess. We have extra stuff. We can end poverty worldwide tomorrow, okay, literally, in very short order around the world, because there's plenty of, we have the means, the technology to create clean water out of filthy water, and to create food where there's drought, to bring that water to it, desalinization, all this kind of technology. We can stamp houses out like pancakes. Hell, they can set machines to build houses now. So don't believe anybody that's telling you anything different from what I'm telling you. Okay, we could have an extra of everything we need and want. So all the things we need, absolutely, the essential human needs we could have, and all the things we want. So, I'm just talking about highway safety. And don't believe anybody that says it's about money. No, it's about a-holes, okay, liars and cheaters and thieves, okay, that want to do stuff under pretexts and lies and deceptions. And not do things for those same, with that same method of lying to the public. But yeah, this highway patrol, he was apparently they received a lot of complaints, and I guess the law enforcement agency dismissed a lot of these against this cop. But apparently he liked to intimidate women. And you could say, well, this is crazy. I mean, this guy, I don't know if he was sexually assaulting them or trying to. Maybe he groped some of them. I don't know. It's just speculation. It never really came out. But he killed one woman because she fought him, because I guess he was trying to assault her somehow. He was definitely intimidating her, and she wasn't taking it. And she scratched him, and he lost his cool apparently and hit her with his flashlight. Ended up strangling her, finishing the job, because of course she could identify him now, and he'd lose his job, he'd lose his life essentially. So he ended up killing her. There was no money motive, but the guy had money. It's not like he couldn't find some woman to court and spend the money. Maybe he was a cheapskate. Maybe he didn't want to court women. He just wanted to, do this. He wanted to use his power in this sick, twisted way. So, I mean, I don't know. But, the love of money is the root of all evil. But this guy was definitely evil. That's my point. And it's like the only time I've ever seen where there's not a tie-in, because they've done studies to where even rape up here in Redding, Shasta County, California, they did a study where they found that a lot of the rape was being committed because guys couldn't afford to court a woman, get dates and stuff, and eventually maybe consummate it, sexually speaking. Okay. But So they attributed these rapes in this study to the financial depression, the financial, the extreme financial poverty and whatnot. Okay, so so I don't know, what this cop's thinking was. All I know is anytime I see a case where it doesn't tie into somehow money was the root of this evil that was done. Okay, it puzzles me, and I'd be curious to see what it'd be like for all of us if we could just work away from the stuff. Okay, get away from money. We need to get away from its relevance. And the way to do that is through sound economic policies that create sound currency. And how to identify that and the progress therein is that your currency continually goes up in worth. As your burden goes down, your taxes go down, your cost of living goes down. That's why your currency increases in worth. So you can't stop prosperity across the board universally. Doing it that method gradually, it happens. It creates a rising tide of prosperity across the board. But you got to have rules that everybody has to go by. You can't have bailouts of '08 where, hell, these guys are exempt, they're too big to jail, and they're too big to fail, so we'll just let them stay well-heeled and keep all their profits, and, oh, well, get over it now, and now it's good that they manipulate markets and drive your cost of housing up, and that's all. We call that good now. And, I mean, look, if you're going to do that, collude, manipulate markets and all this, do it in the high-end properties, okay? If you're determined to make a fortune in real estate, please stick to the high-end stuff. Leave the poor people alone. Section 8 can't afford to pay these landlords like Rich Dad Robert Kiyosaki anymore. We can't afford it. It's broke. It's spending $50 billion a year, and it's just being wasted. It's going into a black hole, okay? And the problems are getting worse. It's being exacerbated as homelessness goes up, and they've spent that $50 billion. The answer is not to spend another $50 billion and to see the problem get worse and worse and worse. No. It's to fix the problem. It's to take away that funding and put it in an escrow and let rents plummet, because that's exactly the effect that it would have. So let the landlords set their new rents based on no subsidy, no welfare subsidy of $50 billion a year. Put all the people temporarily in temporary FEMA housing shelters, Red Cross, whatever we have to do until we fix the problem, until we solve it permanently. And then your taxes go down permanently. Your cost of living goes down permanently. The worth of your income increases permanently. I saw John Bound and Darren McBreen, two of my favorite reporters from the Alex Jones channel, InfoWars, and they were talking. They touched on Trump cutting food stamps and all this. I say that's not the place to start. Okay, the place you need to start with welfare cuts is with the housing. This is the bonfire. This is the source, the cause. This is the catalyst for raising the cost of living and the taxes and the cost of food and everything else. It's not food stamps causing that. Okay, so that should be the last thing you go to, especially as being Christian-minded and being against hunger in America and being for the food banks and everybody volunteering and help the food banks and all this kind of crap, soup kitchens and stuff. It doesn't set right. And I think John Bound and Darren McBreen know what I'm talking about. I mean, you want to talk about welfare, let's, inject Cloward and Piven strategy, okay, that we're being made deliberately poor. Why fight it if that's what's happening? Why shouldn't people just go on welfare and say, well, I'm out. I'm not going to play a rigged game. How can you're going to condemn these people, excoriate the poor welfare mamas that just say, I'm not playing your rigged game that you call capitalism, when you guys, John Bound and Darren McBreen, you both know it's not capitalism. At best, it's crony capitalism. And the only thing that's capitalist about crony capitalism is the word capitalist. But being crony, it's anti-capitalist. It's like antithetical. It's diametrically opposite to true capitalism. It produces the opposite results. So you guys know that. And if you want to talk about welfare, then talk about taking away that $50 billion, and then talk about what would be the effects on the housing market, the effect on what the price you would get for your house, okay? Because the rental market has a direct corollary, a direct correlation to the cost of housing. So do you understand that housing costs would plummet? Let's be honest. Why won't you talk about these things? You guys, come on. I know you're smart. You're way smarter than me, intellectual and probably more educated and everything. So I'm a nobody, and I'm just saying I know enough to know that, if you're in all fairness, you're going to talk about welfare subsidies. You got to talk about Section 8, $50 billion a year, and the effect it would have if they just put that in an escrow and say, we'll put that 50 billion, but it's going to permanently fix these problems. We're not going to sit here and maintain the problems and making them worse, okay? And then the landlords just take advantage of it. They say, yeah, and then the governments go along with it. And they say, yeah, I know your rent is $2,000 on this flat in New York City, and the government's going to pay $1,800 in perpetuity. And then if the landlord raises rent, well, then you got to pay a little more than $200. Your cost share will be whatever. He raises another $50 or another $100 a year. So you're going to have to figure out how to come up